Today, we're going to talk about the power of niching. Oftentimes, when people niche and decide to focus, they feel like they're excluding a group of people and essentially narrowing their market share. But niching can be one of the most valuable things you do as a business owner. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Financial Freedom Fastlane. And remember, the quicker you get to your dream life, the longer you get to live it. And I'm your host, George Acheampong. All right, so one of the first things that makes niching super powerful is you have an opportunity to become the go-to person in your space, right? You have the opportunity to be the go-to person in your space, which is extremely powerful because when you niche down, that means there's a specific group of people, right, that you are now serving. And as a result, if you get people great outcomes or great results, then ultimately you can become that go-to person, which is powerful, right? Because now whenever somebody mentions this service for this community or for this group of people, they're always going to think of you, which inherently is going to be really, really great for you. You're going to get a lot of relational equity, a lot of referrals, because you're going to be the ideal and go-to person for the community, for that particular community of people, for the problem that you solve. So in the beginning, it could be challenging because you could say yes to a lot more people and you're saying no to anybody who doesn't fit those guardrails. So it feels like, man, I'm turning away business. But in turn, you become the guy or the girl for these people, which inherently over time will actually accelerate your business. All right, number two, one of the other really, really valuable things about niching down is that eventually it will decrease your marketing cost, right? When you own a particular lane, right, like you are the person that everybody thinks of, right? So for example, Kleenex owns the lane of tissue, but oftentimes you probably have said Kleenex when you just meant tissue. So you can decrease your marketing costs when you become a household name. And you become a household name by being the market leader. And when you become the market leader, you can more than likely decrease your marketing costs. Now, here's the real truth. Most of the big players, the really big players at least. Now, as a small business owner, this is 100% applicable still. But most of the big players, they still are going to overspend on marketing because they don't want you to confuse them with anybody. They want to remain the market leader. They want to remain at the top of mind. And that's why companies like Coca-Cola, they'll still do a lot of marketing. That's why companies like McDonald's, they'll still do a lot of marketing because they want to be not only a household name, but they want to build trust through consistency. If you see something over and over again, even if it's not the best thing, you're going to trust it. Here's a great example of that. When I went to China, in like 2018, I went to Shanghai, right? I do not eat McDonald's in the States. I have probably not had McDonald's in the States it's been at least 15 years, at least. And that's probably understating it, right? Probably like the last time was right when I graduated college in like 2009, because I went to Vegas and I didn't have any money and McDonald's was cheap. So yeah, I think honestly that was the last time I ate McDonald's. Probably yeah, because I had graduated, because I definitely ate it in college. Let's call it 2009, right? Last time I ate McDonald's. So you do the math on that. But in 2018, when I went to Shanghai, because I had never had the food before, I was like, I'm gonna stick with the devil I know, right? And I ate McDonald's. It was actually better than it is in the States. So shout out to McDonald's in Shanghai. But when you brand and when you market that way, right, like you are gonna just inherently build trust on accident, right? But when you're a small business owner, one of the biggest benefits of having a niche and owning a lane is that you'll get more inbound attraction. Oh, you want to do such and such? Well, I know so-and-so does that. Oh yeah, so-and-so is the go-to person. Oh, I just saw somebody talking about so-and-so. Why? Because your name is synonymous or ubiquitous with that particular lane, that particular group, that particular industry. And the more specific it is, the easier it is to own. So actually, the further you niche down, the more likely that you can own a lane. Does that make sense? So for example, let's say that someone says, I help travel nurses become financially independent. There's probably some other women that do that. That's a niche though. That's still a big niche. But you really probably can own the lane and wouldn't have any competition if you niche down further and said, I help travel nurses who are mothers, and you just like keep going down the lane of how specific can I get to own this lane and be the only person that serves it. Because again, unless you want to build a enterprise level business, you're only going to need so many customers anyway. And so the moment that you get that first or second person that meets that exact criteria, birds of a feather flock together. They're going to tell so-and-so, and then you're going to be, your name is just going to float around in that circle. But you got to be willing to say no to certain people and take the risk of serving a specific group of people, right? All right, number 3, you get the opportunity to have a really refined product and service offering. The reason being is because you're solving the same problem for the same person over and over again. And so instead of having to have all these like one-off scenarios of what happens in this person's world or this person's world or this person's world, you can pretty much assume that there are going to be very, very similar realities for a person if you're solving the same problem in the same industry, right? So that is going to help you refine and distill down your value proposition and make your job easier, because all you have to do is keep making the same thing better. But when you have a new person in a new industry with new pain points and new challenges and new goals and new requests, etc., those are just more things you have to have under your tool belt in order to serve that person, right? Whereas if you solve the same problem for the same person over and over and over again, you're just going to get better and better and better and better, right? So niching on the front end seems like it's hard, it's a challenge, but on the back end, you end up making your life easy because it's like, oh, they all have the same problem, right? You become the go-to person. You also build an incredible amount of trust, right? Because it's like, oh, like they're the person for us, right? Like they really know our problems. They really know our concerns. They really care about our goals. And so again, if you're willing to do it, it can really, really, really help you stay focused and have a very, very refined value proposition. Now, there are some I won't say downsides to it, but there are some realities to it, right? There might be some really great people who will be really great clients, really great customers that if you decide to niche down to that level, that you're not going to get a chance to work with. But overall, for the sake of your business and what you're trying to build, I think it's really, really good. One thing I did in the beginning when I started focusing on working and serving a particular group of people is what I did was I still marketed to the people that I wanted to market to. But when people reached out and was like, man, I know you said you only work with so-and-so, but would you make this exception? Right. Especially in the early days, I'm just keeping it 100. If I can keep it funky with y'all, I made the exception. I just didn't market it. Right. So I made the exception, but I still was able to maintain like the front marketing of like, hey, don't say front if you don't want you to think I'm fronting. I was able to maintain how I was positioned in the marketplace by still only saying I serve these people. And then ultimately, internally, I had the discretion to determine if I wanted to work with somebody else that fit outside of that box, right? So that's something that you can do in the beginning if you just absolutely need that cash flow. Nothing wrong with it. At the end of the day, it's your business, right? It's like it's no rule book that says, oh, you said you only going to serve this people, and I found out you serve these people, right? Not the end of the world, right? Like that just might be the most people you serve, or the lion's share of the people you serve, but ultimately you still have, the right to serve whoever you want to serve. You deciding to niche down is more about process and more about brand position. And as long as those two things aren't compromised, I say you're okay. All right. And last but not least, when you niche down, you stand out, right, amongst the generalists. So for example, if I need to get my car fixed and I have a BMW and I go online, which person do you think I'm going to pick? Google car repair for BMW. Option number 1 comes up. Joe's Auto Shop. We fix anything for anyone. Number 2, Bobby's BMW Specialized Auto Body Shop. Who do you think I'm going to choose? Right. So again, what ends up happening is, especially with the world of Google, where people can search and find you, when people search for something specific, now you're going to come to the top of the search results if your SEO is dialed in. So imagine just saying, oh, I'm a financial advisor, right? Then you're going to come up amongst all the financial advisors. But if I put top 100 ranked advisor serving creative entrepreneurs, if someone says entrepreneur focused on, or excuse me, a financial advisor focused on creative entrepreneurs, I'm going to come up. I'm going to be the guy, right? So niching is powerful. I'm not sure if you've ever heard the quote, but there are riches in niches. So if you were looking for a way to be the market leader, be the go-to person in your space, consider niching. Don't say that I'm a business coach helping women. I mean, I guess that's a start, right? But try to get specific. Don't be worried about the people that you're not serving, because if you're everything to everybody, if you're for everybody, you're for no one at the same time, right? So you got to pick a lane, you got to pick a side, and I bet that it will dramatically improve your business results, your market attraction, and ultimately you being a market leader in your space. I hope this video was helpful. As always, you guys, you know, financial freedom is for sale if you're willing to pay the price. Peace.